Out on the open sea, beneath a sky burning with the relentless noon sun, the work never truly stops. Again and again, the heavy nets are cast out, arcing over the shimmering water before plunging beneath the surface. Each throw is a practice motion, the result of years spent working these same waters, but repetition does little to ease the strain on aching muscles or the sting of sweat in tired eyes. Along the worn deck, calloused hands move with practiced efficiency. Some crew members crouch over frayed ropes, repairing them with swift, nimble fingers, their skin toughened by salt and time. Others bend over battered buckets, sorting through the morning's catch. Slippery fish glisten in the sunlight, their scales reflecting brief flashes of silver as they are separated, some for market, some for bait, some too small or too damaged, tossed back to the sea or set aside for later. In another corner, a pair of hands deftly extracts crabs from the tangled mass, careful to avoid the snapping claws, dropping them into a dented pail with a satisfying clatter. The sea itself is both companion and adversary. The boat rocks and pitches, a constant reminder of nature's power. When a net snags unexpectedly, it jerks hard, nearly toppling one of the crew over the side. Laughter and shouted warnings mix with the low, rhythmic thrum of the engine. For a moment, hearts race, adrenaline surging, but soon, the rhythm of the work resumes. The net is untangled from the obstruction, perhaps a hidden rock, perhaps a submerged branch, and the cycle continues. Overhead, gulls circle in anticipation, their keen eyes trained on every movement below. They swoop and wheel, sometimes bold enough to snatch stray bits of fish from the sorting buckets or to fight for scraps tossed overboard. Their cries are sharp, echoing across the water, a constant soundtrack to the day's labor. Occasionally, a shadow flickers across the deck as one of the larger birds swoops low, wings casting fleeting relief from the heat. There is little time for rest. Hunger is met with practicality, a quick meal cobbled together from what remains of breakfast, scavenged between tasks. Stale bread, a wedge of cheese, perhaps a few slices of salted fish, all eaten standing, hands still sticky with salt and scales. The meal is shared without ceremony, a pause only as long as the sea allows. The boat never truly stops moving, and neither do the men and women aboard. A makeshift canopy of faded canvas provides a thin strip of shade near the stern, but it offers only fleeting comfort. The sun beats down, relentless and unyielding, turning every metal surface hot to the touch. Clothes stick to skin, salt crusts on faces and arms, and every breath tastes faintly of brine. Even in the shade, the heat is oppressive. Still, for a few precious moments, one or two crew members lean back, closing their eyes and letting the rhythm of the waves lull them, before duty calls them back. Despite the exhaustion, there is a sense of purpose in every movement. Each task is part of a larger shun, of a larger whole. Setting the nets, hauling them in, repairing what's broken, sorting, cleaning, storing, and preparing for the next round. The sea is generous, but only to those who work for its bounty. There is satisfaction in the routine, in the knowledge that every fish pulled from the deep, every crab untangled from the net, is the result of skill, patience, and perseverance. The hours stretch and blur under the unyielding sun. Skin grows darker, eyes squint against the glare, and the sound of waves gnawing at the hull becomes an unending lullaby. Occasionally, a distant boat passes on the horizon, its silhouette wavering in the heat. For a moment, the crews wave to each other, an acknowledgement of shared struggle, of a life spent at the mercy of the sea. Beneath the surface, the world is alive and unseen. Schools of fish dart through the blue-green shadow, crabs scuttle across the sand, and the nets drift silently, gathering what they can. The ocean is vast and mysterious, its moods shifting without warning. Sometimes, the water is calm, a mirror reflecting the sky. Other times, it roils and bucks, turning the simplest task into a battle. Fatigue sets in as the day deepens, muscles aching from hours of pulling and lifting, hands raw from rope and salt. Yet there is no thought of stopping. The work must be finished before the light fades, before the tide turns, before the weather shifts and makes the sea too dangerous to navigate. Each member of the crew knows their role and trusts in the others. There is camaraderie here, forged by necessity and shared hardship. As the afternoon wears on, the sun begins its slow descent, shadows lengthening across the deck. The heat eases, replaced by a cooler breeze that brings a hint of relief. The gulls grow bolder, sensing the end of the catch, swooping lower and calling more insistently. The buckets fill, the nets grow heavy, and the pace increases. A final push to make the most of the day. Through it all, the rhythm of the sea endures. Nets are cast and hauled, fish are sorted, ropes are mended, and meals are eaten on the move. There are no long breaks, no time for idleness, only short moments of rest snatched between tasks. The crew moves together, each action part of a familiar dance, each challenge met with resilience and resolve. By the time the day's work is done, the sun will be dipping low on the horizon, painting the sky with hues of gold and crimson. The boat will turn for home, its hold heavy with the day's catch, its crew weary but satisfied. Another day at sea, another battle fought and won against the elements, another story written in the endless dialogue between humanity and the ocean. In these moments, under the vast sky and upon the restless water, there is a sense of belonging. Life on the sea is never easy, but it is real, immediate, and filled with meaning. Each day is a test of endurance, of skill, of patience and strength, and each evening brings the quiet satisfaction of work well done. And tomorrow, when the sun rises again, the nets will be ready, the crew will set out, and the timeless cycle will begin anew. As the sun begins its descent, the sky transforms into a canvas of deep oranges and soft pinks, its warm light stretching across the endless ocean. The gentle waves catch the colors, flickering with gold and copper, as if the sea itself is quietly celebrating the day's end. On the weathered deck of the humble fishing boat, the group moves with practiced ease. They haul in the last of the heavy nets, hands roughened by salt and rope, muscles aching from the long hours. Each net is carefully gathered, untangled, and stacked in its place, a routine carried out countless times before. The day's catch is modest. No record-breaking haul, but enough to keep going, enough to make it worthwhile. With the work behind them for now, the crew turns to the simple tasks of cleaning the boat. Buckets of seawater are splashed across the deck, washing away the traces of fish and ocean spray. They move in quiet harmony, each person knowing their role, sharing small smiles and nods of encouragement. The air is tinged with the scent of salt, the faint aroma of fish, and the promise of an evening meal. As the engine rumbles to life, the boat begins its slow journey back toward the distant coastline, where the lights of the village will soon begin to twinkle. Hunger stirs. In the cramped galley, someone lights a small burner and sets a battered pot atop it. Rice is measured and rinsed, then left to bubble and steam. Fresh fish, gleaming and silver when pulled from the net, are quickly cleaned, sliced, and tossed into the pot with a handful of herbs. The meal is simple, little more than rice and fish, but it is warm and nourishing, a reward for the day's labor. The crew gathers around, bowls in hand, perched on overturned crates or leaning against the rail. They eat with gusto, savoring each bite as the sky continues to darken and the stars begin to appear one by one. Laughter echoes across the water. Someone recounts a story from years past, of a storm that nearly capsized the boat, of a monstrous fish that snapped the line, of a prank played on a fellow crew member who is now laughing louder than anyone else. The sea has a way of creating bonds that go beyond friendship. It forges a kind of family, united by hardship and hope, by the daily sharing of risks and rewards. The stories grow, each one sparking another, until the meal is finished and the night is fully upon them. Amid the gentle roll of the waves and the soft hum of the engine, one of the crew produces a slender bamboo flute. He wipes his hands on his trousers, raises the instrument to his lips, and lets out a tentative note. The sound is pure and clear, carrying across the still water, mingling with the quiet hush of the evening. He plays a slow, haunting melody, one that speaks of longing and memory, of the ocean's vastness and the fragile hopes of those who call it home. The others fall silent, listening, eyes fixed on the horizon, where the last traces of sunlight fade into darkness. In this quiet moment, the hardships of the day, aching backs, stinging cuts, the uncertainty of the next catch, seem to fall away. The beauty of the sea at dusk, the warmth of shared food and laughter, the music drifting on the breeze, all these things combine to create a sense of peace, a reminder of why they return to the water day after day. The ocean is often unforgiving, demanding respect and resilience, but it also offers moments of grace when the world feels vast and full of possibility. The boat draws closer to the shore, its lights reflecting in the gentle swells. The village awaits, with its narrow streets and modest homes, where families are preparing for the evening, waiting for fathers, sons, and siblings to return. The crew finishes their meal, stows away their gear, and checks the nets one last time. Tired but content, they watch as the shoreline grows clearer, familiar landmarks coming into view. The bamboo flute falls silent, replaced by the soft rhythm of the waves against the hull. As they approach the dock, the routine resumes. Ropes are thrown, the boat is secured, the catch is unloaded. Some fish will be sold at the market in the morning, the rest taken home for family meals. The crew says their goodbyes, promising to meet again before dawn as they do every day. There is little ceremony. This is their life, shaped by tides and weather, by the demands of the sea and the needs of their loved ones. Night settles fully over the village now, the sky awash with stars. The boat, now empty and still, rocks gently in the harbor, waiting for the next journey. In the homes along the shore, lights flicker in windows, and the sounds of laughter and conversation drift out into the darkness. The fishermen rest, bodies sore, but spirits lifted by the camaraderie and the quiet beauty they have found together on the water. Tomorrow, before the first light of dawn, they will rise again. They will gather their nets and tools, check the weather, and set out onto the open sea, hoping for fair winds and a generous catch. It is a life of uncertainty, of challenge and reward, but it is theirs. Each day brings its own trials, its own moments of joy and disappointment. Yet through it all, the rhythm of the sea endures, steady and unchanging, a constant companion through the cycles of work and rest, hope and memory. For now, the day is done. The ocean sleeps, cradling the boat in its gentle arms, while the fishermen dream of tomorrow. Another chance, another day, another journey beneath the sun and stars. In the quiet that follows the laughter and music, there lingers the sense that, despite the hardships, there is nowhere else they would rather be. The sea is home, both harsh and beautiful, and in its embrace they find not just a living, but a life. As the boat sways gently, cradled by the slow rhythm of the early morning sea, the world is still caught in the quiet hush that lingers just before dawn. The sky vast canvas above begins to shift from deep indigo to the softest shades of grey, hinting at the promise of a coming day. On the deck, a group of indigenous fishermen stirs awake, their faces etched with the wisdom and endurance of generations who have lived in harmony with these waters. The salt air is brisk and cool, carrying the faint, familiar chill that only those who rise before the sun truly know. With no formal kitchen to speak of, the men gather around a small battered gas stove, its blue flame flickering against the breeze. They work together in practiced silence, their hands steady as they heat a simple breakfast. Leftover rice and dried fish, staples that have sustained their ancestors for centuries. There is no excess here, no adornment, just nourishment, born from necessity and practicality. The aroma is subtle but comforting, blending with the scent of salt and seaweed that always lingers aboard. They eat quietly, each bite deliberate, their backs to the infinite expanse of water that surrounds them. The ocean stretches in every direction, a boundless realm of blue that is both their livelihood and their home. The only sounds are the steady splash of waves against the hull and the occasional cry of a distant seabird. Here, in the heart of the sea, conversation is sparse. Words are reserved for what truly matters. The silence is not emptiness, but a form of respect, a shared understanding forged by years of working side by side. Before the day's labor begins, the group bows their head in a brief, heartfelt prayer. Their voices are low, almost swallowed by the wind, but their gratitude is clear. They give thanks for the meal before them, for the safety of another night, and for the possibility of a fruitful catch. The ritual is quick but sincere, a moment to acknowledge the forces beyond their control and to ask for a measure of good fortune from the ocean they depend upon. With the sun still hidden beneath the horizon, the fishermen prepare their gear. Calloused hands check the nets for snags, fingers deftly tying knots and smoothing out tangles. The nets are heavy from nights past, patched and repaired countless times, each mend a testament to resilience and hope. The men move with wordless coordination, their routines honed by repetition and necessity. Every motion has its purpose, every gesture its meaning. As the first blush of sunlight appears, painting the sky with streaks of rose and gold, the fishermen stand at the edge of the boat. They cast their nets with practiced strength, the weighted lines arcing gracefully through the cool air before sinking into the depths. This moment, repeated countless times over the years, holds a quiet reverence. The ocean is generous but unpredictable, and every cast is a leap of faith, a trust in nature, skill, and the wisdom passed down from elders. Breakfast at sea is not an indulgence. It is a ritual of survival and respect. It is the fuel that powers bodies through hours of relentless work under an open, unforgiving sky. Yet, it is also a moment of connection, a brief pause to remember why they labor and for whom. Each bite is a reminder of family waiting on shore, of traditions upheld with every journey, of the delicate balance between taking from the sea and giving thanks for its bounty. The sun rises higher, illuminating the faces of the fishermen with soft, golden light. The world awakens around them. Fish dart beneath the surface, their scales catching the morning rays. Birds swoop low, scanning for their own breakfast. The waves, once gentle, begin to pulse with renewed energy. The boat rocks more insistently, as if nudging its occupants toward the tasks ahead. The first haul of the net is always a moment of anticipation. Muscles strain as the fishermen pull together, their movements synchronized by years of shared labor. Sometimes the net comes up teeming with life, gleaming fish, wriggling and thrashing, promising a good day's catch. Other times, the yield is sparse, a reminder of the ocean's unpredictable temperament. Regardless of the outcome, there is no complaint, only acceptance and determination to try again. The sea has its own rhythm, and the men have learned to move in harmony with it. As the hours pass, the work grows more demanding. The sun climbs higher, the air warms, and sweat beads on foreheads already tanned and weathered. The men work in shifts, some mending nets, others sorting the catch, their hands moving in steady, practiced motions. There is a camaraderie built from shared hardship, a quiet solidarity that needs no words. Each man knows his role, trusts in his companions, and finds strength in the collective effort. Time at sea is measured not by the clock, but by the sun's arc and the changing tides. The fishermen pause occasionally to drink water, to wipe salt from their brows, to share a brief word or a knowing glance. The world beyond the boat feels distant. The concerns of land life suspended for these hours between sunrise and return. Here, everything is immediate. The pull of the net, the weight of the catch, the feel of the wind. As midday approaches, thoughts turn to home. The catch will be divided, some kept for their families, the rest sold at market to sustain their way of life. There is pride in what they do, a deep, abiding sense of purpose that comes from living close to the elements and honoring the legacy of those who came before. The meal that began their day, a simple bowl of rice and fish, now feels like a distant memory, replaced by the satisfaction of honest labor and the hope of a safe journey back. In these quiet hours on the open water, the fishermen are more than laborers. They are stewards of a tradition, guardians of a fragile connection between human life and the natural world. Their breakfast at sea is a small but vital ceremony, a way of grounding themselves before the trials of the day. It is an act of survival, yes, but also of reverence for the ocean, for each other, and for the enduring spirit that binds them to their craft. As the sun reaches its zenith and the boat begins its slow journey homeward, the fishermen look out across the shimmering water, grateful for another day, another chance, another meal shared in the heart of the sea.